we've got this little tour from IAMC, Indian American Muslim Council, and a bunch of New York State Christian organizations. What we got going on here?
Yeah, so it seems like they're doing a tour of California. I know there's an event tonight in the Sacramento area in Roseville, and there are others planned throughout California. Apparently, but it's part of a larger project to talk about nationalisms. But I think they only talk about three nationalisms, right? Hindu nationalism, and which is the most recent focus of this tour, white nationalism, and then I think they talk about Zionism. All right, if I'm not mistaken. I can't see it on this flyer because the flyer is very small on my screen right now. But no mention of Islamism. Forget the fact that there were like two ISIS plots that were just foiled within the last couple of months in the U.S. But let's not talk about that. Okay, we're going to talk about nationalisms. Let's talk about all nationalisms, and nothing, of course, about Khalistan, which is kind of a form of extremist Sikh nationalism as well. No mention of that. But Hindutva needs to be the focus of this tour because we're such a danger to California. Apparently, obviously, I'm a danger. I'm not sure about others. So it's kind of, first of all, if you're going to talk about nationalism, let's talk about every single kind of nationalism. And let's not like play favorites or, obviously it's being sponsored by the Indian American Muslim Council. So maybe they just don't want to, talk about Islamism, or maybe they are an Islamist group. I don't know. So, but so that's one thing. The second thing is that this, again, going back to this trend of just force feeding these issues of like foreign politics and geopolitics into trying to show how it's somehow a danger to us in America, to Americans in general, Californians specifically, in this instance. And what are the examples that they're going to give, right? Our opposition to cast bills that would have treated us inequitably and in violation of the Constitution, equal protection, and due process under the law. Oh my God, we don't have the right to oppose legislation because that means that we are nationalists, Hindu nationalists. We're celebrating Diwali. Oh my God, we're Hindu nationalists. We're trying to pass on traditions to our children. And Sean Binda from Canada, I want to give him credit, did a wonderful job of kind of articulating this issue. Who is a kind of a Hindu influencer from the Caribbean, I believe, originally.
Indo-Caribbean
Hindu, he's Hindu from,
heritage.
yeah, and kind of multiple generations in Canada, talking about this, that anything you do to express your Hindu identity publicly now suddenly is looked at as a form of Hindu nationalism, Hindu supremacy, etc. So now what they're saying basically through this tour is that you can't be a Hindu in the public square. If you are, that means you're a Hindu nationalist, because everything they define is that every way that we are fighting for our rights and our dignity or trying to celebrate our traditions in a public manner is now Hindu nationalism. So again, going back to the theme that we talked about in previous, recordings, you just keep your head down and be quiet, right? And that's the only way that you're going to be fine, or disassociate yourself completely from your Hindu identity.
But just the gall of a Christian and Muslim organization coming together to, like, rather than look at what the problems are in their own backyards, pointing a finger at someone else. Like, let's do a little bit of self-improvement rather than pointing fingers. I found that in and of itself just so deeply offensive, and the polar opposite of any sort of sense of interfaith. I mean, that's just it's a ruse.
I mean, it's what's interesting about it is like I don't think we see the advocacy we do as requiring us to tear down other traditions or to suppress the rights of other people to express their faith, engage with law enforcement, government institutions. Like today, there was a video clip that came out of a woman demonstrating how to tie hijab, at the New York Police Department. They had a community outreach program. That is a very standard nonprofit, advocacy activity. We do that stuff all the time. Are we out there saying like, no, how dare they talk about Islam at a New York, NYPD community empowerment event? No, we're not doing that. We're saying like, yeah, we also want to talk about our religion, our faith, right? Our community, and have that same right. We're not the ones out there who are going around saying that law enforcement and government agencies shouldn't cooperate with organizations because we made up a bunch of lies about them, right? Like, I don't know, like that's not really in our, whatever our mission is in terms of educating and advocating about Hindus and our, Hindu Dharma traditions, it really doesn't require organizing these little hate tours. It's going around to, being the New York, inviting the New York Council of Churches all the way to California, to discuss Hindu nationalism in India and New Jersey with the Indian American. I don't know. Like, no, we don't. I think
Can
we
you
have better
just
things to do.